Hello and welcome to my channel, A.T.E, the home of everything art and tech. My name is Prashil and welcome back to my 30th video. And yeah, as you can probably already tell if you've been following my videos, I took the liberty to make a few upgrades to the studio. And yeah, by upgrade, what I really mean is that I cleaned up a room, I got a table, and some questionable lighting. But yeah, what else do you expect? I'm a college student. I'm not just financially broke, I'm also morally broke too. But enough about that. Now, let's get into the Redmi Note 9 Pro. And in 2021, a real bang for your buck. Let's get it. Now, the Redmi Note 9 Pro is a great phone for those who don't really care much for high-end specs and just want a device with a decent battery, decent hardware, decent screen, and a decent build. And I'm sure you can sense the theme here. This phone doesn't necessarily excel in any given area, but its decent all-round capabilities makes this phone an absolute bargain in 2021. Now this phone costs $250 USD. Now that's a fraction of the cost you have to pay for high-end smartphones, which are out today. Apple, you know what I'm talking about. Now this phone is quite the looker, and believe it or not, this color is interstellar gray and not some shade of blue, which is kind of weird and kind of surprising, but somehow looks amazing anyway. Now naturally, this mirror-like finish means that it attracts a lot of fingerprints. But the camera module looks clean and the buttons feel firm, especially the fingerprint scanner inserted into the side power button. Now, as far as hardware is concerned, the MediaTek Helio G85 CPU coupled with 6GB of RAM isn't exactly bleeding-edge technology by any means, but performance is decent when using a couple apps at a time. Now, that being said, when it comes to multiple resource hawking applications like the latest games and mobile video editing software, you will definitely notice lag and the device will start to stutter as it struggles to keep up with this high demand. But then again, if you are a power user, you shouldn't really be looking at this phone in the first place. Now, when it comes to the screen itself, for an LCD display, it is surprisingly color accurate. Now, don't get me wrong, you won't get those very deep blacks that you would on an OLED, but the viewing experience itself is actually remarkably pleasant. And so on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly a really nice screen to look at. Now with the screen out of the way, one area that I feel this phone really excels in is the battery life. Now this thing boasts a hefty 5020 milliamp hour battery, and this thing is an absolute beast when it comes to battery life. And now this brute force in the form of a physically superior and larger battery capacity when compared to other phones is honestly the way to go in my opinion. This thing can easily last 2 days with moderate usage and still have at least 18 to 20% of battery life, which is, in this day and age, really damn good. And here's the thing, I always say that while software optimization and more power efficient chipsets are always welcome, these artificial improvements will never compete with good old-fashioned physical battery capacity. And see, that's my problem with the latest Apple devices. Now, while their chipset is better and more power efficient and the software has been optimized, the battery life taking a hit from the previous models definitely does affect my day-to-day usage with the iPhone 12 Pro, as opposed to its predecessor, the iPhone 11 Pro, which boasted a bigger physical battery capacity. Now this quad camera setup is surprisingly decent. In fact, at this price point, I feel like it's definitely something worth noting as a highlighting feature of this device. Now its 48 megapixel primary shooter can actually pick up some really great shots in good lighting. Now the same can't be said for shots taken in conditions where the lighting was less than adequate. But overall, this is actually a really decent camera system on this phone, especially for the price point. Now in terms of innovation, they haven't really done anything that's, well, breathtaking, but I do like the position of the fingerprint scanner, which is right by your thumb, and it's a physical fingerprint scanner, so it's always responsive and it's always accurate. You know, even with the high-end flagships which have the inbuilt or in-glass fingerprint scanners, I find that those aren't always as responsive or as quick to unlock as this phone is. So my final thoughts on the Redmi Note 9 Pro is, well, you've probably already guessed it. It's a decent all-round phone and definitely a bang for your buck in 2021, where it seems like all these phones we have right now are seemingly going up and up in price, and it just seems like there is really no high ceiling here. especially with Apple phones and the Samsungs and all of those devices. Now, if I had to pick some features that really make this phone stand out from the rest, then it would definitely have to be the beast of a battery life that this phone has, and the above average camera, which was honestly something that surprised me at this price point. Now, I get that this phone isn't exactly made of the most premium materials, but I honestly feel that the way that they've executed it makes it more than worth it. Especially at this price point. I mean, you are only paying $250, so there have to be some compromises. So there you have it then. My final verdict on whether or not the Redmi Note 9 Pro is worth it in 2021. Now, if you're someone who's looking for a smartphone on a budget with emphasis on battery life and a camera, then this is the phone for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.